Welcome to a beautiful afternoon here on Vancouver Island, just out for an absolutely gorgeous run. It's our amazing summer continues, and boy, very grateful for that. Listen, so it was amazing to hear from a young man that I used to coach rowing, and we chat once in a while about coaching, about performance, and he's just a fascinating young guy. He's gone on to start his own business, and Oakley is falling down the... Come on, bud, back up here. And so anyway, I love it. And he sent out a suggestion to watch a documentary on Netflix called Mark Cavendish. And Mark Cavendish is an elite world-class cyclist, Tour de France. Grew up in the UK, been cycling for a very long time. And that's all I'm going to say, really, because I don't want to ruin it. I would invite you to watch it. And I will come back to it and revisit some of the themes, because there's some biggies in there. But I just think it's a documentary that you could experience on your own. And there's just a lot of good stuff. So I'll leave you to it. But I do want to talk about one of the themes, because it reminded me actually of a coaching call a couple of years back where I had connected with an NHL hockey coach, and he was having trouble with one of his goalies. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, if you want some help, I'm happy to chat with him. And so he phoned, and we had a talk, and he said, well, let me put you in touch with our goalie coach. So I don't know, half an hour later, the goalie coach called me, and he told me all about this athlete in question, and essentially said he was at his wit's end. He wasn't sure what to say anymore. He wasn't sure what to suggest anymore. But this young man was not playing to his level. And he was, you'd know his name. He's a very good goalie. And so he was open to anything and everything, really. And he said, what do you think? And I said, well, what have your conversations been? And he said, well, I'm giving him all these tactical strategies to work on, and yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, for me, I'm just wondering what his fuel is right now. Like, what's his reason for even getting between the pipes? And so my suggestion to him was, and I just said, look, if it was me, I would invite this young man to remember what it was like to be a young boy playing on a frozen pond in his hometown in Quebec, and what that felt like. Why did he spend his entire day playing hockey with his best friends, freezing cold, I'm sure, at some point? What kept him doing that? And reconnect with that boy, be that boy again, reconnect with the feeling of why you played hockey all day long, right? Why you were attracted to it. Find that fuel and see what happens. So we talked a little bit more, and he said, okay, I'll give it a try. And about an hour before the game, the goalie coach, sends me a text message of his pregame notes. And he's got all the tactical stuff written down there, focus on this, do this, blah, blah, blah. And he scratches it all out, right? And he writes above it, he said, be the boy who used to love hockey. And I thought, poof, you heard me. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And so that was his advice to his goalie. Okay? So game starts, and 60 minutes later, this guy hadn't won a game in forever, right? And but that night, not only did he win, but he got a shutout. And we talked afterwards, and some of you may think, oh, well, it's a nice story, kind of a neat coincidence, but it's not a coincidence. At least I don't. In fact, I don't just think it's not a coincidence. I know it's not a coincidence, and that's based on how many times we've seen this happen. When the fuel is toxic, when your reason are extrinsic, right? Contract, money, pressure from the coach, expectations of management, fans, teammates, what have you. That is an interference, right? That's a toxic fuel. When the fuel is love, the love and joy of what you do and what that gives you, that's a clean burning fuel. And when that young man reconnected with his childhood fuel of loving to be in between the pipes, he was free to perform. There was no fear, there was no ego. He just reconnected with why he loved playing hockey. And that enabled him to play at a higher level than he had been. And I just freaking love that story because it is exemplary of what these things are about. Your mindset matters, and they do. And it does. And so I find that such an important lesson for all of us, to connect with the joy and the love of what we do and why we do it. And when you find that, you find clean burning fuel. And when you find that clean burning fuel, that's when your performance is going to go through the roof. So anyhow, okay, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next week, and take care of yourselves, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.